Hello friends. Trump surrounded Russia with American nuclear submarines overnight. If Russia is attacked, we will use death hand to cause a nuclear disaster. Putin's threat. Russia's 350 most dangerous weapons attacked the Ukrainian capital. In this video, you can see what is happening between the US and Russia in the midst of the Ukraine conflict, friends. Many friends who watch our channel have watched without subscribing. If you support us, please subscribe and support. Click on the icon to stay up to date with defense geopolitics. Now let's go to our video. In the Ukraine war, European countries like Britain, France and Germany, which were NATO countries, were directly clashing with Russian President Putin. Friends, in this situation, from the moment Trump began to intervene directly in the Ukraine war, the problem between NATO and Putin began to turn into a problem between Trump and Putin, geopolitical experts say. Specifically, Trump saw the United States, a powerful power that can rule the world, as a way to show off to Russian President Putin. Defense experts say that the United States has now started to turn the Ukraine-Russia war into a Russia-USA war. Because Trump wanted to suppress Russia, which is the world's military power, and now the situation has become so tense that a direct war between the United States and Russia has occurred, the foreign media say. What did US President Trump do to Putin's ego? He first gave Russian President Petro Poroshenko a 50-day ultimatum to stop the war in Ukraine. The next step was to say, "You didn't listen to me properly." And then he gave him 12 days. He informed me that he has changed. Although Trump said that he has taken this kind of harsh action to bring Russia in line with NATO countries, Putin is still worried about Trump's threats. He is saying that the Russians are looking at the same thing as the US is looking at Cambodia, Thailand and other Middle East countries, and that the Russians are looking at Iran. It is a very bad thing that the Russians are looking at the same thing as the US. Not only this, but what are the issues that the Russian Kremlin is focusing on? If they try to threaten Putin, like the way US President Trump spoke to Zelensky at the White House a few months ago, the consequences will be very bad for the US. Friends, in this situation, the war of words between US President Trump and former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has created a great danger for the two countries, to the point of outright war. When US President Trump gave Russia 50 days to stop the war in Ukraine, and then 12 days to end it, Dmitry Medvedev responded by saying that more than 30 NATO countries and their allies, led by Vladimir Putin, were eager to stop the Russians, saying that they would go to any extent and even take nuclear weapons into their hands. It was said that this response of Dmitry Medvedev had angered Trump. Seeing this, Trump had said some very harsh things against Dmitry Medvedev. What Trump said was that Dmitry Medvedev, the weak president of the Russian Federation, blindly thought that we were the president and that he was threatening the United States with nuclear weapons in order to remain a world power. Trump ordered the immediate deployment of 2 nuclear-powered submarines to the Russian Federation, which he said would be a direct response to a nuclear attack on the US as a world power. What geopolitical experts have to say about Trump's decision? Dmitry Medvedev, who was the president of the Russian Federation from 2008 to 2012 and is now the chairman of the Russian Security Council, is regretting it. Dmitry Medvedev, a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, is reportedly taking over as Prime Minister after Russian President Vladimir Putin's close ally, Dmitry Medvedev, became president under a Russian constitutional law that bars Putin from serving more than 2 terms. Experts say that Dmitry Medvedev is a person so close to Putin that he may be using Dmitry Medvedev to influence Putin's rhetoric against NATO and the United States. Dmitry Medvedev, who can speak strongly against NATO and the United States, has been a person who can openly threaten that NATO and the United States will immediately launch a nuclear attack against Russia. It was in this context that the verbal war between Trump and Medvedev escalated to the point of taking nuclear weapons. Seeing this, the French, on Trump's orders, have deployed 2 submarines carrying nuclear-powered submarine-launched ballistic missiles to Russia's Arctic Ocean, where they are positioned to threaten Moscow, their capital. What is Vladimir Putin's response to this act of targeting Russia, which Trump may have done in the final stages of his campaign? If you threaten the Russian Federation, you may have immediately retaliated by targeting the United States and launching an attack on them. In particular, Russia's destroyer warships and their nuclear-powered nuclear attack submarines, which are in the Bory class, have been stationed around the United States territorial waters as if they were waiting for an attack. Geopolitical experts say that the United States will never be able to threaten Russia with nuclear weapons like it threatens other small countries in the world. Because just as America is the most powerful nuclear power in the world, Russia is an even more powerful nuclear power. Although Trump has shown an image of threatening Russia by showing off his nuclear submarines, the real truth is that Russia is a submarine nation on par with the United States. The US Navy currently operates 70 submarines. Of these, more than 14 are nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. The US can use these nuclear ballistic missile submarines to launch nuclear strikes on other countries using Trident II type nuclear missiles. At the same time, if we take Russia, their navy operates approximately 69 submarines. Specifically, Russia's Borei-class submarines are nuclear-powered nuclear attack submarines. Russia has also attached nuclear missiles like the Bulava type to these submarines. This Bulava missile, which can complete Russia's nuclear triad, can carry out a nuclear attack on enemy countries with the weight of 10 warheads. The nuclear submarines have been stationed in the sea areas of the two countries as an ego clash between Trump and Putin, centered on the war in Ukraine. Geopolitical experts say that this has created the biggest war between the two countries since the Cold War. Friends, in this situation, Trump's long-awaited deadline and the issue of stopping the nuclear submarine are being discussed by the global media, and Russian President Vladimir Putin is now using many poisons against Ukraine and NATO. In particular, Russia's ongoing attacks on Ukraine have now increased many times over. Russia has now carried out a massive airstrike on the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, using more than 350 weapons. Russia has used more than 320 kamikaze attack drones and more than 20 Iskander hypersonic missiles in this attack. Global media is reporting that there have been casualties in Ukraine in this attack on Kyiv, and that not only this, but also buildings there have been badly damaged. Friends, in addition to this attack, Russia has carried out a precision attack targeting a military base in Chernivtsi, Ukraine. It has been reported that this attack, carried out with precision using Zircon Iskander missiles, is likely to have killed more than 200 soldiers at a Ukrainian military training center. Russia has said that this attack was carried out with precision, but Russia has said that we attacked because Ukraine was trying to use this military base to infiltrate Russia, just as we did to capture the Kursk region that belongs to Russia. In this situation, Russia has said that Putin is ready to bring about a ceasefire in Turkey if Ukraine accepts everything Russia has to say about the ceasefire. Tell us in the comments what you think about the Ukrainian conflict between America and Russia now that they are fighting. Thank you very much for watching the video so far. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.